Yoshiki is a normal high school student who spends most of his time with his best friend, Hikaru. However, after Hikaru goes missing in the mountains and suffers a fatal accident, he is replaced by a shape-shifting monster. Yoshiki figures that out, but the monster reveals that he has feelings for him and then threatens to kill him if he reveals his secret to anyone. Yoshiki and Hikaru are what modern historians would call just very good friends. They spend practically most of their spare time together, and Hikaru keeps hyping up Yoshiki, telling him that he is smart, so he should definitely leave their tiny village and head to the city for college. He also keeps teasing him that maybe he doesn't want to go because he doesn't want to leave him. He tells Yoshi that if he gets a girlfriend in the city, she will have to face competition from him, and the dumb Yoshi still doesn't get the hint. One day, Yoshi asks Hikaru for his plans about the weekend, and Hikaru replies that he's going to the mountains alone that day, but he refuses to share the details. However, when Hikaru goes to the mountains alone, he goes missing after suffering a terrible accident. Yoshi joins the search party along with the village adults, and he desperately runs through the forest hoping to find his best friend. Unfortunately, Hikaru is injured too seriously, and he realizes that he is going to die. He wants someone to be by his side, and his request is heard by a supernatural creature of unknown origins who possesses his dying body and takes his place. Fast forward to a few months ahead, Yoshiki and Hikaru resume their high school life, enjoying ice cream together like two best bros. Hikaru is still the same free-spirited twink as ever, but Yoshiki knows that something is wrong. He asks Hikaru what happened when he went missing on the mountains for a week in January, and he replies that he doesn't remember a thing. Hikaru tells him to stop nagging about it because his memories aren't just going to return. He then starts teasing Yoshi, asking if he was worried sick about him, and Yoshi decides to confront him directly. He says that he's had something on his mind ever since Hikaru came back from the mountains, and Hikaru asks if he wants to confess his love to him. However, when Yoshi asks him to admit that he is not the real Hikaru, he is stunned, speechless. He asks Yoshi how could he tell that because he thought he copied Hikaru perfectly, and then suddenly the creature starts to reveal its true form. The eye Hikaru lost during the accident suddenly melts and turns into terrifying tentacles, and Yoshi is aghast. The fake Hikaru suddenly hugs him, begging him not to tell this to anyone because he's having fun living as a human. He says this is the first time he got to be a human and he is enjoying school and the time he spends with friends. He then tells Yoshi that even though this body and personality don't belong to him, he likes him a lot, and that is why he doesn't want him to expose his secret to the world. Hikaru says that if Yoshi does that, he will be forced to kill him, and he doesn't want to do that. Yoshi's brain freezes on realizing the truth, and he can't even utter a single word. He always knew that Hikaru was gone, and confirming it makes him even more depressed. However, more than his fear of the unknown creature, Yoshi considers the fake Hikaru as a replacement for the real one, and he doesn't want to let him go away too. The next morning, Yoshi wakes up from a dream about the time when Hikaru was still alive, and he curls up in a ball as he cries his heart out. After that, he heads downstairs to have breakfast, ignoring his family, but heading outside just as he hears that Hikaru is outside. Hikaru tried starting a conversation with a crazy story that happened last night, but Yoshi just pushes him aside, saying that they can talk on the way or they will be late for school. Well, Hikaru is happy with that too, and he starts telling Yoshi about the watermelon his mom brought last night. Yoshi doesn't mind if the story is boring or if the Hikaru he sees is a fake one, because having him here is much better than leaving his place empty in his life. Once they reach school, they are made to practice a choir performance for the upcoming school festival, but Hikaru just keeps staring blankly at the lyrics without singing anything. Once the practice is over, Yoshi asks him why wasn't he singing, and he replies that he was so engrossed in the meaning of the lyrics that he forgot the lyrics. They start heading towards the next class, but then some girls tell them that they are going to see an educational movie instead of their regular classes today. Hikaru gets really excited on hearing this, and one girl finds that quite odd. On the other hand, a shady guy named Tanaka visits an apartment in a nearby city, telling the residents that his company sent him to do some routine maintenance, but the only thing he's carrying is a hamster cage. Once he reaches inside the house, Tanaka starts thrashing things and using his hamster cage as some sort of radar to find suspicious things when he is the most suspicious person in the scene. Turns out there is indeed a creepy little creature hiding inside the house, and Tanaka busts it down while the horrified homeowners watch. After that, he calls his boss, telling her that he found a supernatural creature but no hint of the one they are actually looking for. He starts talking shit about the company, saying that they should have come up with more efficient ways because they've been searching for their target for centuries now. But the boss tells him that she will dock his salary if he badmouths the company. Back in the school, Yoshi is bored out of his mind watching the same movie for the zillionth time, but Hikaru is bawling his eyes out. Yoshi is shocked by this and asks him why is he crying because they've watched this movie 5 times already, and Hikaru says that while a movie is stored in his memory, this is the first time he's actually seeing it. After school ends, Yoshi decides to hang out with Hikaru, who gets excited about the smallest and most usual things. They cycle around the village and then go to a restaurant in the nearby town that sells the best fried meat dishes. As soon as he takes the first bite, Hikaru goes crazy, and Yoshi tells him to stop screaming because he looks suspicious. He finds it strange that Hikaru remembers things, but they are still new to him, and Hikaru replies that he can only recall the memories and not the experiences. He reveals that he was never alive to begin with, and only after he possessed this body he became someone. Yoshi gets a bit creeped out by this and asks him if he's a ghost or something. Hikaru replies that he doesn't think he's a ghost, but he's pretty sure that he is something more sick and twisted. Just then, the restaurant owner's cat comes there and starts snuggling with Yoshi. Hikaru bends down to pat it, but the cat senses what kind of creature he is, and it immediately runs away in Tom and Jerry style. While Hikaru is unbothered by that, Yoshi starts feeling uncomfortable. He still offers to take him around the town, but little do they know that the cat was not the only one who could sense Hikaru's true nature. They pass by a regular middle-class woman on the streets who gets chills down her spine just as Hikaru passes behind her. She starts sweating and panicking as she turns around to see what happened, but all she sees is two high school students. After spending some time in the town, Yoshi and Hikaru head back to their village. As soon as they cross the border, Yoshi starts having second thoughts on Hikaru. He doesn't even know what kind of monster he is, but he's still letting him hang around, which makes him doubt his own mental state. However, before he can think too deep about it, Hikaru snaps him out of it, saying that he would like to come over to his house later to read the latest volume of Hunter x Hunter.
Yoshi decides to let him come over, but just as they go a bit ahead, a creepy old woman freaks out just as she sees Hikaru. She begins bawling and screaming as she says that Lord Nanuki has come down from the mountain, and the moment Hikaru takes a step forward, she immediately runs to her house and locks the door. The two boys decide to go ahead, and then Yoshi brings up the topic of the real Hikaru's death. The fake one immediately begins to explain that he didn't kill him, and in fact Hikaru was almost dead the moment he found him. He begins telling Yoshi that the only thing he remembers is that he was traveling through the mountains for what seemed like forever, without any form or census. He says that things changed when he found Hikaru, and the next thing he knew was that he possessed his body. But even he doesn't know the details about that. After that, they reach Yoshi's house first, and before they can part ways, Yoshi asks the fake Hikaru if he likes him. He affirms, and Yoshi wonders if those emotions belong to the monster or the original Hikaru, because he never said anything like that to him. He starts crying on hearing this, and as he enters his house, he tells Hikaru to never leave him again if he likes him. That night, as Yoshi lies sleeplessly in his bed, thinking about Hikaru, the monster walks towards the house of the creepy old woman, who realizes that death is coming for her. She refuses to open the door even as the fake Hikaru knocks and tells her that he has got a delivery for her. The woman tells him to go away, but then suddenly the monster manages to enter her house and a lot of dark memories resurface inside the old hag's mind. She goes completely silent at this, and when she turns around, the last thing she sees is the monster who kills her. The cops arrive at the scene quickly on receiving information, and the news of the old lady's death causes some other people to panic, who are convinced that Lord Nanuki will come for them soon. One of them decides to contact Tanaka for help, and the shady guy accepts the job even though he doesn't really want to go to the gloomy village and deal with the ridiculously strong monster there. The next morning, Yoshi and Hikaru head to school on their bicycles, and Hikaru tells Yoshi to slow down because he can't keep up with him. Yoshi suddenly stops, and Hikaru thinks that he did it for him, but then he sees a bunch of police cars heading in the opposite direction as them. Yoshi wonders what is happening, and Hikaru says that apparently, the crazy old woman named Matsura died last night. He eagerly tells Yoshi that his mom was talking about it in the morning, and then starts saying that he's really excited now because this is the first time he has ever seen a police car. Yoshi knows that something is wrong, and he can't digest the cheerful reaction from Hikaru, but he decides to ignore it for the sake of their friendship. At the same time, Tanaka is heading to their village with his entire baggage as well, playing girly anime songs on his car radio. Back at the village, Yoshi's classroom is full of news about the old lady Matsura. One girl says that she heard that the crazy old woman unalived herself by shoving her arm down her throat, and one of Yoshi's friends gets creeped out on hearing this, saying that Matsura must have seen something that she shouldn't have. Yoshi can only glance at Hikaru on hearing this, but he remains silent in front of his friends. Suddenly, the buzzcut guy, whom we can call Buzz, says that he might be cursed too. The girls ask him what does he mean, and he tells them that he often takes a shortcut through the forest to reach home after school, and the forest is spooky as hell. The girls tell him to stop being such a child, but Buzz tells them that they don't know what he goes through each day. He says that he finds it physically impossible to lift his eyes from the path, and the moment he tries to look around, his body freezes. Buzz says that he can't do it alone now and begs Yoshi to walk home with him today. Yoshi tells him to count him out because he isn't interested, but then Hikaru comes there and he's really curious about what is going on. He says that he will come along with Buzz and Yoshi. That comes out as the greatest shock to everyone because Hikaru used to be really scared of ghosts and stuff. The girls ask him if he is sure that he can even do it because he used to faint whenever they watched horror movies, but he replies that such things don't bother him anymore. Buzz is glad to hear this, and he decides that his entire friend group will walk him home through the creepy forest today. On the other hand, Tanaka reaches the village, and he's greeted by a group of angry men who thought he would arrive much sooner. Tanaka just laughs at their frustration and says he will begin his work immediately. He breaks into Matsura's house despite it being an active crime scene, and the men have no choice but to follow him. Tanaka remarks that the place looks like a dump and then asks the man named Toka about his father. Toka replies that his dad isn't leaving the house because he is terrified of what happened to Matsura. He has gone crazy because he thinks that he's going to be hunted next. Tanaka laughs on hearing this because he had predicted this much, and Toka grabs his collar telling him to get serious because people are dying in the village. He blames Tanaka's company for that because they conducted some strange ritual here. But Tanaka replies that if they hadn't done it, a large corporation would have altered the geography of this place, and that would have led to some very serious consequences. Just then, the shriveled old guy with a buzz cut speaks up, saying that the village is facing more spooky things than just the death of the old lady. He says that it must have started because Hikaru's family failed in a ritual that they were supposed to perform. Meanwhile, Buzz leads his friends to the spooky patch in the forest that it crosses to reach home, and they agree that it looks creepy. However, they don't hesitate too much and walk into the forest, much to Buzz's shock because he couldn't gather up the courage to do that either. He quickly follows his friends as they leave him behind. And surprisingly, there is nothing creepy about the forest at all. Buzz realizes that he might have been paranoid and thanks his friends for helping him out, and then tells them to be careful on their way home. Back at Matsura's house, Tanaka finds the words Lord Nanuki written all over the place. He wonders what they mean, and the old guy tells him that when Matsura was a kid, she had a traumatizing experience in the mountains, and she used to say that she saw something really scary there. He says that she used to be normal even after that, but then her daughter vanished without a trace and she became deranged. Tanaka is curious about the missing daughter, but the men suddenly become uncomfortable as he brings up this topic. Tanaka says that whatever Matsura saw in the forest scared her, but at the same time, it attracted her, and then suddenly his hamster starts running really fast as it senses supernatural energy in the place.
Back in the forest, Yoshi and his friends are returning home peacefully, when Yoshi suddenly feels someone staring at him. He looks at the forest and sees a white zigzag line in the distance. He grows curious about it, and the more he stares at the line, the closer it gets to him. Soon the swinging line turns into the form of a long-necked ghost, and by the time Yoshi realizes what is going on, it is too late. He starts having a panic attack and stares at the ground, but Hikaru tells him that it is not going to do him any good now because the creepy ghost is following him. Hikaru decides to take one for his best friend and tells the ghost to come to him, getting a sudden nosebleed. Meanwhile, Tanaka takes his group to the local shrine because it is the only place where they can be safe from the creepy energy that had filled Masura's house. He then reveals that he went to the mountains before coming to the village, and there he found a small bag. The men recognize it as the bag that Hikaru's dad always used, and Tanaka says that he found something really curious inside it. He suddenly takes out a small dried object that looks like a head, and the men are grossed out by it even before they learn that it used to be a human skull. Tanaka says that this dried-up skull can ward off most evil spirits, and at first he thought that this was the reason the supernatural impurity of the mountain had vanished. The men grow hopeful on hearing this, but then Tanaka says that he was wrong, and now he believes that the impurity came down from the mountain and it is hiding among them in human form. At the same time, the girl named Yuki in Yoshi's friend group hears an incredibly creepy voice that no one else hears, and she drags her friend Asako away from the forest immediately without giving her any explanations. Meanwhile, Yoshi checks up on Hikaru asking, "What just happened?" Hikaru replies that the ghost wanted to latch on Yoshi so he compressed it and ate it, but it put up a fight, giving him a nosebleed. Hikaru then says that ghosts are incredibly lonely and they latch on to anyone who sees them, which is why he doesn't want Yoshi to look at anyone else but him because he is the only one allowed to latch to him. With that, they reach the road where Yuki and Asako are waiting for them. Hikaru tells them that he tripped and hit his nose, and Yuki apologizes for leaving the boys behind because she heard a strange pop sound. Hikaru tells her that it must be a gunshot in the distance and asks her not to worry. But then, Asako notices that the creepy energy the forest was giving off vanished. She believes that the gunshot destroyed it, and Hikaru suddenly starts seeing the girl as a threat because she is too sensitive to supernatural energy. After that, they head back to school where Yoshi wants to know how Hikaru ate that ghost. Hikaru takes him to a storeroom to show him how his body works and starts stripping, and he suddenly remembers a lesson that the real Hikaru's father had given him when he was just a child. He had asked him to marry the girl he likes as soon as possible, or Lord Nanuki would drag her to the mountain. He said that Lord Nanuki drags people to the mountain because he is lonely, but he has an arrangement to not harm their family, and they can keep anyone safe by marrying them. As he snaps out of the dream, Hikaru tells Yoshi that it looks like you're about to do some naughty stuff, but he tells him to hurry up. Hikaru quickly unbuttons his shirt, revealing a gap in his chest that creeps Yoshi out. However, Hikaru urges him to stick his hand inside it, and he reluctantly does it. He finds that the inside of fake Hikaru's body feels like cold marinated chicken, but Hikaru finds him warm. He tells Yoshi to feel free to explore his insides, and Yoshi pushes his hand upwards, hitting the G-spot and Hikaru's brain. He starts feeling too comfortable with being inside his friend, when suddenly Hikaru starts pulling him inside. Yoshi immediately pulls himself out, and Hikaru starts laughing, asking if he was scared. When Yoshi calms down, his eyes suddenly go to Hikaru's open shirt, and he decides to give him the full fan service view. Yoshi immediately turns aside to hide his flustered face because he doesn't want to come out of the closet just yet, and then he tells Hikaru to button up already. After that, Yoshi goes to the local supermarket to buy some stuff, and while the cashier yaps him into oblivion, the woman who sensed the strange energy coming from Hikaru earlier notices him. Yoshi zones out till it is time for him to head outside. And just as he leaves the store, he begins thinking about the time he was inside Hikaru. Just as he is about to get on his bike and leave, the woman from before grabs his hand, telling him that he is getting close to something really dangerous, and he should get away from it as soon as possible. Yoshi is already flustered at this point, and he asks the woman what she means. She tells him that if he mixes too much with the creepy thing, he will stop being a human. The woman then claims to be just a regular housewife who can see supernatural things, and she means him no harm. She says that for a few months she had been feeling a really horrifying air coming from the mountain near the village, but then it suddenly vanished. The woman says that she had been worried sick because of the evil aura's disappearance, but now she can see that it has latched on to Yoshi. She knows that he must have some reasons to keep that creepy thing with him, but he really should not do that. She tells him that there's still time for him to get away from it and shares her number with him, telling him to call her whenever he is ready to make the decision.
A couple days later, Yoshi heads to Hikaru's home during the day while wondering if he should text the lady named Ri who offered to help him earlier. In the end, he decides not to contact her for now. Yoshi first gives Hikaru's mom a watermelon he bought and then heads to Hikaru's room, who is sleeping peacefully under a fan. Yoshi gulps the saliva building up in his mouth as he sees Hikaru's exposed belly and neck, but then he calms down the gay uprising inside his mind and sits down. Suddenly, Hikaru kicks him because he was awake and knew that Yoshi was drooling while staring at him. He then suddenly puts Yoshi in a deadlock, defeating him in a WWE match he didn't even agree to. After that, Hikaru asks him if he brought something or came to his place empty-handed, and Yoshi replies that he brought a watermelon. Hikaru gets excited on hearing that because watermelon is his favorite fruit, even though he has not really eaten one yet. Soon they start eating the watermelon that reminds Yoshi of their childhood when they swallowed watermelon seeds and started freaking out, thinking that they would turn into watermelon men. He keeps thinking about how he has been treating this shape-shifting monster as his best friend, and he wonders how long can he keep it up. While he's in the middle of having a panic attack, Hikaru thanks him for coming here because spending time with him is fun. He thanks him for the watermelon too, and Yoshi asks him why did he need to bring that up suddenly. Hikaru replies that he just wanted to let him know how he felt, and his words leave Yoshi even more shaken. Hikaru falls asleep again after that, and Yoshi takes one look at him before turning his gaze towards their picture with Hikaru's dad. He remembers that Hikaru's dad died shortly after clicking this photograph, and he went to the Forbidden Mountains too. Thinking a bit more about it, Yoshi remembers that Hikaru also went to the mountains during the same time of the year as his dad. He begins looking at other pictures of them together, thinking how they were the only two kids of the same age in the village, so they spent their entire lives like two balls in a sack. However, now the real Hikaru is dead and a monster has taken his place, and Yoshi doesn't know how to handle it. The stress gets to him, making him want to puke, and he begins considering talking to Ri seriously. As he is debating whether to send a text or not, Hikaru starts talking in his sleep, freaking him out. However, he quickly calms down and decides to text Ri after all. Just then, Hikaru's mom calls him to the kitchen to give him something to take back home. Unfortunately, Yoshi leaves his smartphone in the room and Ri replies to his text just as Hikaru wakes up. He reads her text asking Yoshi if he is ready to talk to her now, and Hikaru wonders who is this woman trying to steal his boyfriend. Later, Yoshi goes to meet Ri outside the supermarket, and she acts cheerful as if nothing is wrong at all. They go to a local restaurant where she begins browsing through the menu, but then Yoshi awkwardly reminds her that they are here to talk about something important. Ri stops acting so nonchalant and asks him to tell her the full story. Yoshi tells her all about Hikaru without actually revealing the details, and Ri pities him because she understands what he is feeling. She tells him that he must have struggled a lot by himself, but he should not try to punish himself for it. She says that both of them have lost someone they loved, but they need to accept that fact and move on. Yoshi is curious about her backstory now, but then Reagan's thinking that since he is mixing with the monster, it must have taken the form of a girl. Just then, a waitress arrives there to take their order, disturbing her chain of thoughts. After that, Rai asks Yoshi if he has noticed anything creepy happening in the village because she can sense supernatural visitors who are coming to these parts out of nowhere. Yoshi remembers the ghost with the long neck, and then Rai says that she believes that the thing that has taken the shape of his friend is attracting all those spooky things towards it. Yoshi is surprised to hear that, so Ri elaborates saying that the thing that replaced his friend was like a huge mass of something straight out of hell, but when it left the mountain, a strange distortion began spreading everywhere. Rai says that the thing should not have left the mountain in the first place. She tells Yoshi that the old woman named Matsura who died a horrific death recently must have been connected to the thing too, and she herself fears for her life. Ri claims that she wants to leave the town immediately, but her mother-in-law and daughter live here and she can't leave them behind. Yoshi suddenly notices her empty ring finger and asks her what she meant when she said that both of them had lost someone. Ri tells him that a few years ago, her dead husband suddenly returned home one day, and at first she was happy, but things ended terribly. She learned the hard way that she couldn't find happiness with whatever took the place of her husband, and she doesn't want Yoshi to make the same mistakes as her. However, he doesn't know what to do in this situation, even after her advice.
The next day, as school ends, everyone starts heading home, but Yoshi stays back in the class, quietly watching the rain while lost in thought. Hikaru keeps looking for him, and soon Asako finds Yoshi in the classroom. He makes an excuse that he was looking for something and asks her to tell Hikaru to head home without him. He then starts thinking about what Ri told him and wonders what exactly is the fake Hikaru. He wonders how to get away from him when suddenly Hikaru arrives there to take him home. Yoshi tells him to go home without him today, and Hikaru asks him why he's acting like he is on his periods. He then tries pulling a funny face to make Yoshi laugh and gets shocked when it fails. Hikaru puts his hand on his shoulder, saying that he can talk to him if there is something on his mind, but Yoshi flicks it away, telling him to leave him alone. Hikaru feels bad about it, and he asks Yoshi if he is mad because of something he did. Yoshi asks him why is he making everything about him, and Hikaru replies that there must be something wrong because he wasn't like this yesterday. Yoshi tells him to just go away, calling him a creep, and Hikaru snaps at this. He asks him why is he hiding things from him, like talking secretly to some stranger. Yoshi gets taken aback on hearing this, but he tries to stand his ground, asking Hikaru why should he tell him what goes on in his life. Hikaru snaps at him, saying that he used to tell him everything before, and Yoshi snaps back, telling him that he was never here before a few months ago. Hikaru suddenly realizes that Yoshi's foul mood is because he is not the real deal. He starts losing his mind over this fact because he knows that it is the truth. He grabs Yoshi's hand, asking if he is not good enough for him even though he has perfectly copied Hikaru. Yoshi yells at him, saying that he can never be a human no matter how perfectly he copies anyone. He once again yells at the fake Hikaru to get away from him, and something suddenly snaps inside him. He begins crying, saying that he understands that, but even then he cannot stop loving Yoshi because that is the only way he can function. The feelings of the real Hikaru and the creature begin mixing with each other, and seeing his tantrum makes Yoshi second guesses his decision. Then suddenly the creature reveals its real form, spreading itself all over the room before pouncing on Yoshi. He pins him down, entering his mouth and nose. Yoshi feels disgusted at first, but then gradually he starts feeling good as the creature enters him, which is hella sus. He suddenly sees some very old memories of a person who looks like Hikaru and is holding a severed head in his arms. Suddenly, the creature pulls back, letting Yoshi return to his senses. He starts crying, saying that he doesn't want to harm Yoshi of all people. With that, Hikaru walks out of the classroom, dragging his feet on the ground, and just before going, he asks Yoshi not to hate him. Once Yoshi returns home, he tries convincing himself that he did the right thing by sending the creature away, but some part of him still wants him around as Hikaru's replacement. The next day, Hikaru remains absent from school, and Yuki and Asako ask Yoshi about it. They ask if he had a fight with Hikaru because that would explain why one of them missed school and why the other is looking so gloomy. Yoshi affirms that they had a fight, and Yuki asks him to make up with that idiot quickly because he has been clinging a lot to him recently, like a baby clinging to its parents. Yoshi suddenly realizes that Yuki summed up the situation better in one sentence than he has ever been able to. He immediately rushes to Hikaru's house, where he finds him bundled up inside a blanket. Yoshi apologizes to him, and Hikaru sheepishly replies that he should be the one apologizing to him for attacking him earlier yesterday. Yoshi tries telling him that it is not about it, and Hikaru says that he is really embarrassed about what he did yesterday. He asks Yoshi if he hates him for that, and Yoshi tells him that he doesn't. Hikaru suddenly comes out of the blanket crying that all he wants is to be close to Yoshi, and he doesn't care if he hangs out with other people. Hikaru asks him to not leave him alone, and Yoshi promises, saying that he is just a lonely brat who doesn't know better. Yoshi realizes that he is making a mistake, but he can't stop himself from reaching out to Hikaru and thinking that if he's just a child who doesn't know anything, maybe he can teach him a few things. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.